You're watching World Insight. Coming up, traditional Chinese medicine, a variable alternative to combating COVID? A pharmaceutical studies professor tells us why TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, works. After this break. Welcome back. This is World Insight with me, Tian Wei. As the Omicron variant circles the globe, people look to better COVID treatment and vaccinations, but research into these may take a long time. Pharmaceutical studies professors in China think Chinese medicine may provide some alternative. So, in what ways can traditional Chinese medicine help combat COVID and its variants? Meet Professor Hubert Yin, who is the Deputy Dean of Tsinghua University School of Pharmaceutical Sciences.
Hundreds of traditional Chinese medicine have been used. These are all different samples from different production sites across the country.
I see.
This actually is really interesting. So this one is called skull cap or huangqi. It has been really widely used. And these are from different sites with different years.
So this is year one?
That's year 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see they look all differently. For example, this is like year 2 skull cap. Look at that, the shape looks very different. If you look inside, this core actually is pretty interesting. It was not dried up. Like, whereas for this one, year 4 is completely dried up. This one is called ziqin in Chinese term. This one is called kuqin.
That would assume it's a very difficult process, isn't it? Because there are a lot of variations about where the location is, the years, and also the amount and everything.
Indeed. That's the reason we have been working with leading industry partners in the countries to collect those samples and trying to put a large database collecting data with our state-of-art analysis technology. You can see, like with this information we collect, they actually fall in different clusters. So this really match to different dried up roots of skull caps. This information would help us to come up with a new standard that can be used internationally to come up with the next generation of new traditional medicines. We have been working with other researchers to team up with them to really connect the sporadic informations. And this would be really helpful to actually provide a systemic system to actually provide a high quality control for such treatment.
So what's your sense? This is just starting?
This is starting of a huge amount of work. I think it's going to take generations of researchers to complete this mission.
Thank you so much for showing me around, particularly about the Chinese medicine materials that you're researching on. Fascinating stuff.
Thank you.
Many have been curious about why is China trying to promote Chinese traditional medicine during the fight against the pandemic, COVID-19. What is your take?
In my opinion, traditional Chinese medicine is really a national treasure, inherited generations after generations, over thousands of years, really. It's been said that during this pandemic, especially this COVID-19 pandemic, traditional Chinese medicine has already demonstrated its relevance and contributions.
But you know, when we talk about medicine, there has to be safety, efficacy, right? So how do we know it is effective? What standards do we apply to it?
Historically, in China, traditional Chinese medicine has already helped us numerous times to save lives. For example, in this time, from the very beginning, traditional medicine has been widely used to release the symptoms in early stage to save lives in the late stage. We have actually already have standard therapies to actually distribute to different mobile hospitals and other medical institutions. It has been already shown over 90% of the patients receive substantial release by receiving the traditional Chinese medicine.
Now, have those traditional Chinese medicine become a set model in a way for prevention and control of COVID-19 since then in China?
at the early days of the pandemics, we really don't have any effective method
No.
to treat those patients.
No effective measures, no medicine, there's no vaccine either.
Almost not at all. From the very beginning, TCM has been used widely. In some province, they actually in early days, they actually release standardized recipes. And in the early days, there's 3 widely used recipes have been recommended by the Chinese medicine authorities.
It seems that the overall Western medicine system, which all of us accept at this point, is very different in a way that is very much a system of its own. But if you look at the Chinese traditional Chinese medicine system, there seems to be a lot of things involved. There could be the scientific part, which you're researching about. There's also the philosophical part. There's also the mystery part. There's also the cultural part of it. There seems to be a lot of elements put into the same word. What does that mean for your research? You have to peel one layer after another in order to find the essence that you as a scientist are looking for. What is this peeling off process like for you?
A lot of this traditional Chinese medicine, along with the medical practice, really are the fruits from generations of pragmatic approach, right? From really thousands of physicians' practice, they actually come down to these very valuable treasures, what we call traditional Chinese medicines. Back then, really thousands of years ago, we don't have the current technologies we have, but now we have much more powerful tools to understand their mechanism, how they works. Take artificial intelligence, for example. This is a really hot topic. In biomedical research, we really depend heavily on computer information technologies. As we said, traditional Chinese medicine really take the patients as a whole. We do think this is a balance, or the information exchange between the patients and the environment, or maybe the nature. So we call this is really the harmony between the sky and the ground, or the human and the environment. So, but we don't really understand how each of the details works. With the artificial intelligence, neural network, machine learning, name it, all of these current technologies, we can actually appreciate this whole picture much better with much more in-depth understanding.
But on the other hand, have we already assumed a hypothetical conclusion, it seems, when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine, that whether it is really effective in a scientific way, how can we explain the earlier experiences? How is experiences related to science and eventually related to a real analysis, nail it down? This to me is a fascinating process.
So
are we succeeding in anything in that regard?
As many people think, traditional Chinese medicine is effective. But the question is, how do we show it? In the current Western biomedical science, we tend to use big data, right? We use double-blind clinical trials to demonstrate that. It seems we're also coming to the stage for traditional Chinese medicines. We not only have to tell people that this is effective, it's good stuff, but also using the current mathematical approach, there is statistic significance. With the double-blind clinical trials, we actually can show people the data. And we actually, I think we're able to do that during a pandemic such as the COVID-19. In the early days, there's no way to develop vaccines or medicines in really short time.
Right.
However, a lot of traditional Chinese medicine has already been shown by the from what we learned from the history, those are effective. So those informations can certainly help us to narrow down the candidate to actually kick in, really just right in, just almost right away to help us to release the pain from a really severe pandemic such as COVID-19.
If you look at the overall Chinese traditional medicine system, there are enormous amount of types of different herbs that we're talking about, and their function, their years, their format, their doses, all of these are mysteries. So I'm thinking, when is it possible to be able to translate one system to another system, like the one system that used in traditional Chinese medicine over thousands of years, and the system that we are commonly using today, the Western medicine system. When are we going to have that jump? You know, of course, you don't know the answer, but to me, that is an important question. And before that happens, what should be our approach to both systems?
In some of these traditional classics, the classic for traditional Chinese medicine, yes, close to 2,000 different Chinese herbs have been recorded, such as it's going to be a lot of works, and but the great thing is this is going to be international collaborative efforts. There is increasing interest at the international level to appreciate those traditional Chinese medicines. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we at Tsinghua we actually tried to publicize traditional Chinese medicine we use here in China to those African countries. Think about those vaccines developed by international pharmaceutical companies. They're going to cost tons of money. In Africa, they won't be able to be used right away. By contrast, traditional Chinese medicines cost, let's say, by average $10 for one dose. And it's readily available for those African countries. These medicines have been really helpful to help them in this campaign.
Now, Tsinghua is one of those cases, right? I mean, your institution is one of those examples in China about how the basic research has been developing regarding traditional Chinese medicine. What is your goal, you know, eventually, when you try to link the two systems together, Professor?
At Tsinghua, I feel that it's our responsibility to shoulder this mission to inherit, modernize, and innovate traditional medicines. We try to really dissect these mechanisms, trying to understand how traditional medicine works for things that it's really good at, such as disease prevention, such as the synergistic effect in disease treatment or rehabilitation efforts. And those actually have been shown to be particularly good to use traditional Chinese medicines. And I do believe that our efforts are going to help to improve in this area.
You're a Western-trained scientist. Now you put a lot of your efforts and energy into this. What is your understanding about what you are trying to achieve?
I feel that this is the mission for our generations of scientists to use the tools we learned from other disciplines to apply this to Chinese medicine. Really push the limit of these wonderful technologies, or the resource, or maybe to utilize this resource to help a larger population.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. That's right.
Thank you, Professor. Will traditional Chinese medicine work in our fight against COVID? Well, some answers, at least in the earlier interview. That's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, search World Insight or check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.